Intimidusrex. Pam Ray. Naomi. Fasciana. Babbler. Gray eyes. Fill my eyes. Assemble. When the clock slips past polite, that's when the room starts telling the truth. Monday night in the garden of enlightenment. Heads bow low while the room grows intelligent. Every pause got a pulse, every stare got a meaning. Like the dark learned to speak and the wall started leaning. Then it slips after midnight. Nice manners go missing. Thoughts get taller, words cut closer. Nobody's just listening. Twisted Tuesdays bend the frame till the clean lines skew. Where the truth walks in slow, wearing somebody else's shoes. And the words don't sit, they move. Gotta wait in the chest, gotta bend in the groove. Every line like a knock from the back of the brain. Like you dragged in one version, you won't leave the same. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown and the soft door dim. Late night poets, hear the whole thing shift from a whisper in the ribs to a line that lifts from the darkened edge of doubt to the pull you can't ignore. We don't just read the night, we make it something more. Oh, late night poets, something more. Wednesday splits, parts in the part synced on the middle, half grace, half damage, all nerve in the signal. Then the art is seduction, glides in thin-skinned, all silk on the tongue with a knife tucked in it. And not craft and sullen art, we make it articulate. Through the hush of heart spine, make the whole room sit with it. Then break on through when the polished front blurs, when the mask can't hold in the real thing stirs. Fill my eyes with poetry, let it hit full force. No safe little lines, no watered down source. Bad company last with its tie pulled loose in rhythm and rhyme. Puts a pulse in the bruise. Every name on the bill feels less like a name, more like doors in a hall where the air still changes. You don't come here to fade, play me to stay numb. You come here to hear what you might become. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown and the soft door dim. Late night poets, hear the whole thing shift from a whisper in the ribs to a line that lifts from the darkened edge of doubt to the pull you can't ignore. We don't just read the night, we make it something more. Some come shattered, some come dressed clean. Some say a little and still split the scene. Some sound velvet, some sound wire. Some walk in quiet and take the room higher. That's the thing, the same background sound. This is breath with the backbone, it with the crown. This is late souls, live mics, eyes held open. A room full of hearts, refusing to coast into silence. Late night poets, where the room leans in, where the sharp gets shown and the soft door dim. Late night poets, hear the whole thing shift from a whisper in the ribs to a line that lifts from the darkened edge of doubt to the pull you can't ignore. We don't just read the night, we make it something more. Oh, late night poets. When the clock slips past polite, we tell the truth. LNP. I love you, Quicken.
Hello and welcome to Echoes in the Dark. The darkness in each of us needs an opportunity to be heard, understood, and embraced. So whether it comes in the form of a whisper or a scream, we will carry forth the poetry that expresses the haunting echoes within your soul. I am Pam Ray, and co-hosting with me tonight is Robbie's Poetry. Robbie and I are poets on a website called All Poetry with a group of poets called Late Night Poets. This is our dark poetry show. And if you find that is not your cup of tea, please check out our other shows. We have 1 to 2 shows per night on a variety of styles of topics and poetry, something to suit everybody's taste. Also, make sure when you get a chance to check out the poetry anthologies put out by Late Night Poets on Amazon, because when you purchase those, you not only get amazing poetry, you help support these radio shows. And hello, Robbie. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. I had my early day today, so like I was able to get home early and went out to get some art supplies and do a couple other things. I wish I knew that I got my deposit early because then I would have gone out and
Oh,
done more. But oh
yeah.
well,
Still, that's a nice surprise. And
it
to
is.
have a day where you actually got off early, you didn't have to feel
Mhm.
rushed. You
No,
got
no,
to go do some stuff that was fun, and then
yeah,
you got the surprise of
yeah,
finding out that you got some money earlier than expected.
yeah. And
So,
I'll still be able to, and I'll be able to use it tomorrow. So, and I have when I have my day off. So, I still is
oh,
yeah, it's still to my advantage.
exactly,
I'm gonna go record
exactly.
buying, that's for sure. I'm going to the
Oh,
vinyl shop.
awesome.
Yeah.
Got any specific records you're looking for?
Uh Maybe not specific records, but I'm gonna look probably in the electronica section and also like I always check out their two little bins of the smaller records, the 45s. I love getting 45s. I love getting a 45s of specific songs because the 45s actually sound a little better than the full records for whatever
Yeah.
technical reason. Yeah, and I like to get singles when I find them. Like I found a George Michael on 45, and I was like, yes, yes,
Oh,
my life is
awesome.
now worth living. Yes.
Oh, that's great. That's
Mhm.
great. Yeah. Oh, and I should mention for anybody who listens to or writes for Echoes in the Dark on a regular basis, yes, this is a different day and time than usual, but we're just doing it this week because Rex is still away. And hopefully he'll be able to be back with us soon. But in the meantime, it just worked easier to do this Echoes in the Dark on a Saturday at 10 Eastern US time. And then hopefully, when we have the next episode in 2 weeks, we will be going back to Fridays at 12:30 a.m. Eastern US time because I personally think that Echoes in the Dark can work for either an earlier or a later show, but I like it better for a later show because then you can put out those prompts and get those rights that if people want to put a little bit more edge to it, they can. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. I'd
Yeah.
just be falling asleep on the air if we had it on the
Yeah.
because of my Yeah, I didn't know that
You
that
would
would
give it the
happen.
college try, but it
Yeah.
would be the short course.
Yeah. Well, I'd be probably more so falling asleep at work because yeah, I didn't expect it to change to where I had it my shifts start at 9, but I prefer it that way. But then I'm waking up at 7 in the morning and oh my God,
Ah,
if
yes.
yeah, if I went to bed at 2:30 and then I woke up at 7, that would not be good.
Yes. Well, that
Yeah.
that is completely understandable. Although that is actually a lot of times my normal sleep schedule because that's just the
Mhm.
way my brain and body works, but I
Mhm.
get it. Like there's a
Yeah.
difference between that's what naturally happens and you have the option to go back to sleep.
Yeah.
Um, and you have to be up at that time and
Yeah.
there is no going back to sleep
Yeah, and
until
it just makes it
nighttime.
feel different, like
It
you feel a little rushed and the sleep feels different. I think it makes you feel a little more tired when you have to get up, as opposed to when you want to get up, even if the hour is the same. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I know. I same thing happens to me. The difference, and that's I think for anything.
Mhm.
If you have to do it, it's just so much more of a struggle. But for tonight's show, first of all, we have carryovers from Gothic Darkness, which was the last dark show that you and I did together.
Yes.
And then I ran a contest with the painting The Silence by Henry Fuseli. And that was a small contest. We didn't need a lot of rights. And I'm thinking my plan is that if there's any carryovers from the Henry Fuseli contest, that I'll run a contest with some of his other paintings, like The Nightmare and his paintings of Lady Macbeth. And he has another one called The Madness. So, I figured that way it would fit the theme. And if there's no carryovers, well, I'll just figure out from there what I want to do.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we got a great lineup of dark poetry that I'm really looking forward to. And with that being said, I think we'll go ahead and get the ball rolling. So I am going to put up A Fugue for Sanctuary by Garanwi. And go ahead, please, Robbie, and give that a read.
All right. That very nice title there. Very interesting. A Fugue for Sanctuary. A fugue of memory echoing from stone walls, played by ghosts of recall, in shapes of notes forming shadows of the past as gargoyles look down. Hearing a whispered, Esmeralda, where are you? Chime in bells of time, caught looking for salvation from deformation, hiding in the darkness. Of a Gothic tower that plays psalms of belief in striking organ notes with skeleton fingers, haunting keys and stops with rattling bones, making dark music with shapes of moonlight in a dance macabre by got ghosts finding hope in pilgrim hymns, offering sanctuary. End poem.
Great read, Robbie. I thought this was just an amazing dark write by Garanwi. Like you, I really liked the title. I liked how it brought in elements of the Hunchback of Notre Dame and speaks to me in part on the idea that we all seek shelter from something that haunts us. I really felt there were so many nice Gothic elements to this, like the gargoyles, which I know is also a reference to the Cathedral of Notre Dame, which sadly a few years back or so burned down. And there's the towers. There's a lot of imagery in this, and it's definitely not even that long of a poem, but he packs this wonderful Gothic style imagery and makes it very atmospheric. And I thought there were great lines throughout, but I did especially like making music with shapes of moonlight and a dance macabre by gaunt ghosts finding hope in pilgrim hymns offering sanctuary. Like sometimes the only sanctuary one can find is in the music. The excellent write and very well done.
Well, I really enjoyed reading this just in and of itself. And it really is Gothic, like just the title itself, and then the gargoyles. That's the epitome of Gothic. I find gargoyles very interesting because they're actually protective, um, sort of symbols, and it's always interesting to me when something protective, looks monstrous. It's like a certain sort of strength. It's kind of like sometimes there's a debate of when Medusa was turned into the monster that she was, that was like actually a form of defense, so that no one would ever do to her what was done again. Although that's a rather extreme way to do it. And you have the shield and the thing that and the head too, that could be a protection if you wanted it to. Um, and yeah, that the very, I think, very elemental gothic themes with but done in a way that isn't cliched. And this is one of those poems that reminded me of. It's funny when you have a poem that reminds you of, oh yeah, I remember that show I saw, and I remember the show Gargoyles, and oh yeah, I saw something earlier. I'm gonna have to get that because I saw these like kind of skeleton keys today, and this is before I knew I had my money. It was at a Dollarama of all things. I think it was like a decoration for the garden or something. That was a very gothic thing. I was like, oh yes, I got to get that. I got to get those. So I'm gonna have to go back tomorrow and get those keys. Maybe I'll put them on my door. um, but yeah, the striking organ notes, that's very gothic too. And that in and of itself reminded me of when a friend of mine had keys to a church because he was like the head of the choir, and he is playing pipe organ at like 10 p.m. in a dark in a dark church. This is my friend, very eccentric, wonderfully eccentric friend from 20 years ago. And yeah, the rattling bones, everything here is just so uh beautifully gothic, but done in a way that, again, that is not not cliche gothic. It's nice when you come across a poem that very much represents a style and a feel, but not in a way that's cliche. That can be very, very hard to avoid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great observations there, Robbie. And up next, we have The Wet Gangrene by Frozen Cadaver. And it goes like this: Life is eternal and death is an ashen panorama. Sure, you could pass by death. You didn't share nightmares with it. You've never counted your heartbeats. Sure, they would beat forever. It made you watch your body rot. The skin turns pale, swiftly painted in obsidian. The taut, purple skin crackles at the slightest touch, bloated with toxic air that ruptures the capillaries. A putrid smell haunts you, preventing you from sleeping. Fear forbids to close your eyes. Is it sleep or death? Hours spent motionless, eyes frozen in place. Your crimson stopped flowing down to your limbs. The mere thought of it brings vomit to your throat. Your body is gifted with blisters, cloudy, dark, bloody, and purulent. Contents contents. The skin tears under the weight of its own liquefied insides, and the dark fluid soaks through the mattress, whispering how close to the nihil. Grass grows through your sheets. You talk to those who are already in the grave. It mutilated your flesh with burns of underground flames, like black earth peeking through the snow. The quiescence in which you will rest below, holding on to every day that previously seemed meaningless. The world around you goes on while you rot. You don't understand the living. Sepsis infects your nervous system. Your brain turns in a fever. Your brain burns in a fever while your toes look at them. They are already dead. They are someone else's teeth. You look at life through the window while being taken to the morgue. The hallway smells of chlorine and wet soil. The living outside the glass They aren't talking. They are just moving their jaws. They think they are alive. How funny. How loud. Don't fix me. Don't touch the tubes. Stop the machines. The cold is creeping up your knees. It tastes like copper. The morgue is not a place. It's a bleak shape in the corner of the eye. The heart is counting backwards now. 9, 4, 0. Interlace your bones with it, my friend. Kiss the teeth of the reaper. It loves you. Breathe the rot in. End poem.
Oh, this was so. It was almost like excruciating self-awareness of your own body process, and in like the worst way possible too, right? And it's almost like this in a weird way. I don't know if it would sound weird to people, but this almost sounded like in a way a hypochondriac's sort of point of view, or it's just like there's so much emphasis on body processes, like the worst kinds, like the especially like the decay, that sort of thing. And I was just laughing to myself when I mentioned the about the toes, I think, and I have a bruised toe, and it's like the poem came to life when I was looking at my the toes, and I'm looking at my bruised toe. But this to me is it's like an excruciating the horror of this is an excruciating awareness of decay. But especially that it sounds like a lot of it is in your own body. But that's the thing, we're removed from death more because of our modern lives. And and it's kind of affected us. Like we can't, a lot of us can't handle as much. Like if they said, okay, you're gonna have to go out and kill your own food, you'd be like, oh crap, I don't think I can do that. And that's what we used to do all the time, right? So it kind of reminded me of that too. And yeah, this is another poem. Both of the poems so far have really felt like a singular theme, or a singular, yeah, a singular sort of effect, or feel. And this really it reminded me of how actually I'm probably a bit of the self projection or whatever, but I've struggled with hypochondria a bit, and I have like I can have a hyper awareness of my body sometimes. And so this, it's funny that this poem would kind of touch on the almost horror of that. So it's funny how a poem that is like about something else so completely different has this tangential sort of connection, and it really affects you because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and well, the thing is, it's easy to become aware, so aware of your body that you start to question every little thing. And honestly, these modern times, with so much access to information, it's useful in so many ways, but there are ways that it's not helpful. And that is, you Google a couple symptoms and, you find out you have cancer, or at least that's one of the options,
Well, it's
and yeah.
I remember Star Trek Voyager, they were making fun of that. Seven of Nine, this really intelligent person. That's the thing, your intelligence turns against you. Uh, she
Yep.
was she was looking at the Starfleet database, and she said, "Oh, I believe I have, let's say, Croningen syndrome. I'm just making up a name." And the doctor says, "That syndrome, a syndrome that's been extinct for 500 years." And I think he's berating her for for searching the Starfleet database. And I know doctors, that's their pet peeve. They're like, don't do that. And I remember one time when I got bruised ribs, like there was I wasn't in threat of getting a certain something from it, but they said, well, sometimes this happens from bruised ribs. Do yourself a favor and don't look don't look it up. And I thought to myself, you know what?
Right.
I'm not going to. And he said that right after the accident happened, like literally like 2 minutes after. And I'm like, yeah, hell no, I'm not looking that up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. But oh man, I tell you, I have a great appreciation for this poem simply because it really made me squeamish.
Yeah,
Um,
it made me squeamish too.
you, like there's not much that makes me squeamish except for the mention of vomit.
Mhm.
Like I can handle blood and rot, but the idea of like thinking about the vomit and the putrid smell,
Mhm.
and the liquefied insides is really what gets
Yeah.
to me physically. And then I will say, um, emotionally, don't fix me, don't touch the tube, stop the machines, because that reminds me so much of my mother's passing.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah.
part hits me emotionally,
Mhm.
when we had to take my mother off of life support.
Oh goodness.
Um, and I will say on a technical level, the only thing personally, and this is just my personal taste, is I prefer poems to be separated. But I don't want people to ever think that because that's what I prefer.
Mhm.
That's the way they should write. I mean, people should write whatever works for them.
Mhm.
But like I said, I have a great appreciation for this poem because I really feel like Frozen Cadaver did not hold back
No,
with
not at
the
all.
darkness. There is a physical darkness to this, but there is also, to me, an emotional and in spiritual darkness. It actually kind of reminds me of, it makes me think of the suffering of Job, in the Bible, except for obviously he didn't have a bed to lay on. But still, like the mention of the sores, that made me think of Job. And then it also made me think of the idea of facing your own mortality, like, the idea that this death is nothing but a metaphor for a death that happens when you're still alive, like the idea that you're no longer living life to the fullest. There's nothing within you that cares anymore.
Well, both of us
And
seem
it
decaying parents. I think, yeah, I've seen my dad deteriorate too. So I think for both of us, we don't like to be. We probably both have a heightened sensitivity to the idea of like kind of like physical decline because we both seen a parent that has gone through that process. Like it sounds like yours went through that pretty slowly too, and my dad's, yeah, he went through it slowly, and it's like, yeah, I don't like to think about it.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing with my mom is I there are similarities in that we both, had a parent die, but I'll be honest, my mother's death was quick and unexpected. She did not have any illness other than alcoholism. Um and like normal stuff like depression and stuff like that. But she tripped and fell down the stairs. She fell from the top of the stairs to the bottom and basically like crushed her skull in and went into a coma. So it was very quick, and which, I've talked to people who have had loved ones die where it's dragged out. And the thing is there's both ways are sad, but both ways, and I don't know how to put this the right way, but like when a parent, like, you don't want to watch a loved one suffer, but when you know it's going to happen, you have that opportunity to say your goodbye, say your last words.
Mhm.
um when you think you're going to have more time, it it's like you don't you always ponder, could I have said something else?
Right.
You know I'm just typing a sentence here.
Yep.
But yeah, this is a strong write by Frozen Cadaver. And I do like how it can be taken different ways, but ultimately, I do think it is about really facing our own mortality. So excellent, right? And very well done. All right. I'm seeing if Weaver would like to join us. All right. Well, I will bring her on. Hey, Weaver, welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. How's it going?
Hi. Hi, brave lady. Yeah, it's going wonderfully, thank you. Hi, Robbie.
Hey, Weaver.
Hi, my dear.
Good to have you here. Good to have you. Well, the next poem I put up is The Last Fall by Agrisman. And Robbie, go ahead, please, and give that a read for us.
Okay. I muted myself right when I was going to talk. Why did I do that? Okay. I did it in reverse. I was unmuted that whole time, and then okay, the last fall. In the dark, I heard her voice. Couldn't be. As I recall, I made her fall. But what could I do? I had no choice. She always made me feel so small. Then the voice grew louder and louder, gripping me with fear she wasn't dead. My conscience knew it wasn't true. Didn't matter as my guilt grew and grew. I dwelled upon the thought of death, how I'd watched her draw her final breath, how wonderful it felt for her to die. Many would question why I didn't cry. You see, I lived beneath her command, did everything she asked and demanded. No matter what I did, it wasn't enough. When it came to making love, I was rebuffed. The voice demanded I come upstairs. It was softer and more delicate than hers. So I wondered what was waiting there. With every creak upon the stairs, I felt tension. Was this a trick of my mind's invention? The house fell silent between each step, as though it waited and watched my ascent. The darkness seemed to draw me near, feeding my imagination and fear. I paused midway and listened hard, straining to catch another word. Then through the stillness, faint and thin, the voice called out to me again. Do you know why I called upon you? Said the voice as I came to the door. No, I said, shivering in disbelief. You were mournless without grief. Now your wife is here to take you back. No! I cried and turned to run. Then I saw the trap that had been laid. I stumbled hard and lost my footing, falling helpless to my fate. Now I'm trapped in eternal hell, where torment toils its endless bell. I serve my wife and her faithful friend in damnation's service without end. End poem.
Great read, Robbie. And Weaver, this seems right up your alley. What do you think?
Oh, well done, Robbie. That was said with so much conviction. I'm sorry. I was sipping on a nice warm honey and lemon drink, and then I basically choked. Blimey. Wow. Yeah, right up my boulevard, as the saying goes. Flipping heck. Oh, this, we are presuming this is imagination. Perhaps hopeful imagination, who knows? It was, wow, excellent. I didn't know where I was at the beginning, who we were talking about, who was involved. And then as Robbie's wonderful rendition carried on, I got to the point where I understood. Blimey, this is very scary. I'm thinking back on the people who might want to trap me in eternal hell. Flip. Wonderful. I mean, when I say enjoyed, that sounds really terrible, but I did. I enjoyed it. I thought it was incredibly clever and scary as heck. So thank you for sharing, I think.
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, to me, reading darkness, watching dark movies, reading dark poetry can be very enjoyable. So great comment. And Robbie, you did a great read of that. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this really was scary for like what the entrapment of how the person gets entrapped, and then it's karma in its most vicious form. It's maybe not even karma. Like karma is more abstract and universal and impersonal. This is more like revenge. Although it almost feels like a certain sort of karma or adjacent to it, and yeah, like Weaver said, sometimes we think to ourselves, man, I think that person probably wants to see me in hell. Or we can't please everybody. We all, unfortunately, I think, have some people that maybe not necessarily hate us, but don't exactly aren't exactly doing cartwheels when they see us. So everybody's personalities just don't mesh. This reminded me a bit of the Japanese yurei, like how with how vengeful their spirits are, because their ghosts they take vengeance up to a whole whole other level. So it kind of reminded me of that, where there's like no appeasement, or the appeasement only comes at the through brutal, like absolute brutal revenge. And yeah, I like the insinuations there that they're brought to bear, like well, there's that wondering to the self, like, well, are people going to notice that I'm not showing any remorse? I think that would be an awful and creepy feeling if you really didn't care for or care about somebody, even though perhaps you should have, and you're here at the funeral, and you're just standing there, like, not giving a damn, really, and you're thinking, well, is everybody going to notice that? That's that's always a difficult uh thing to go through, to say to say the least.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great comment. Yeah, I really enjoyed this dark story, right? It had a great flow to it, a wonderful buildup of intensity. And it's funny, Robbie, that you mentioned karma, because it feels like I started thinking that when you said that this is really about someone who tried taking karma into their own hands. Like, here's this man whose wife is mistreating him. She's rude, she's demanding. She basically just treats him like complete crap. And instead of just walking away or saying, you know what, eventually karma will take care of it, he decides, no, I'm going to take care of it. Which then, of course, means that it's his conscience that becomes haunted. It kind of reminds me of like the Telltale Heart in that way of, and it's got a very Edgar Allan Poe type feel, not in the rhyme, because it doesn't have a consistent rhyme pattern. It's but in the buildup of intention and how atmospheric the piece is. I also really liked how he made the house, the creaking of the stairs and all that, like the house was almost like one of the characters. It was part of the atmosphere. And I think, to me, that's really what gave this poem a great gothic tone. It was definitely an amazing write, dark write on revenge taken, but then the idea that one has to face their own personal hell and eternity with someone that drags them down and belittles them.
I got the Poe
Excellent,
feel
Dark
too.
Right. What's that?
Sorry, I got the Poe feel too. Actually, I forgot to mention that because of the, because I think because of like we hear like the telltale heart, that sort of thing, and it has that sort of same idea of someone's conscience preying on upon them, and like infesting their brain and just haunting them. And yeah, you come across that in Poe, so it reminded me of Poe as well.
Yes, yes. Especially his storytelling, you know. I'm actually much more fond of Poe's storytelling than I am his poetry. Although I do love his poetry, don't get me wrong. I mean, his poetry is amazing, but it's his short stories that I really like to read. Um, but up next we have What Shall Bloom by Macris. And Weaver, would you give that a read for us, please?
I would be delighted to. Thank you. Do my best. Right. What shall bloom? Golden locks shone bright against the pale night, while veiled black figures swallowed up her light. They whispered softly, knowing well her name, and bore her where she would not be the same. No morning crossed the windows of the keep, nor earthly birds disturbed the endless sleep. The veiled ones combed the tangles from her hair, and told her she was chosen for their care. Beyond the keep, a garden slept in snow, where roses bloomed beneath an ager's glow. Each bore a name along its thorny stem, her own bud slept within the frozen gem. Dark priest called her bride, offered her his hand, then led her where the wedding vows were planned. They named her chosen, beautiful and fair, and placed a silken veil upon her hair. Through cast iron doors a woman came in prayer, more beautiful than any dream could dare. Her eyes held stars no mortal eyes had seen, and candles bowed before their waiting queen. A name marked every rose for those she wed, and told her how their mortal lives had fled. Each bride was loved until their breath was gone. Within the queen their bridal bloom lived on. She touched the bud and felt its petals stir, and knew the waiting bloom was meant for her. She knew each rose had risen from a tomb, and understood each bride became the bloom. The queen kissed tears that trembled on her face, and held her close within her inhuman grace. She spoke the words no mortal heart had known, and took the woman's grief as if her own. She walked the stone path where the altar lay, and knew the cost, yet did not turn away. She saw what waited past the final veil, yet chose to stay where mortal hearts might fail. The rose began to open, dark and red, while slender arms drew closer overhead. She gave the queen the light she could not save, and wondered why she'd ever feared the grave. The end.
Wonderful read there, Weaver. And what an amazing Dark Right by Macris. And your thoughts, Robbie?
It oh, get my mic here. It very much had that fantasy atmosphere. I think of when people write up stories for adventures and that sort of thing, and just you really do feel like you're in a story. Uh, Poems evoke an atmosphere, but this is one of those times where you really do feel like you are in the poem and you're seeing everything. I always find that feeling and that experience to be interesting because it's like you've stepped into it, and kind of reminds me of when I saw in a game one time where someone a character literally stepped into a painting, and they entered into the world of the painting, That kind of is what it feels like here. And kind of the word ceremonial kind of came to my mind with all the, it seems like there's a lot of preparation and that sort of thing happening here. And that gives it an air of mystique. And at the end, it says, she gave the queen the light she could not save and wonder why she'd ever feared the grave. It's always interesting to me when someone comes not to fear death. I've been coming across a lot lately with the fiction and such that I've been reading, the idea of how things change when a character for some reason doesn't fear death, because maybe because they know they'll be resurrected, they have the power of resurrection, or an external agent resurrects them, or they're not afraid of what's beyond because they feel that is beyond is it's just another step. That so changes the dynamic of things when a character has that in life.
Absolutely. Great comment, Robbie. And Weaver, you did a great read of that. Your thoughts?
Oh, this was a joy to read. Really, it just completely flowed. You started with the title, beautiful, and then the prompt pick, perfect, and from there on, it was just it. It was just so well written that it flowed, and that makes it easier for me to read, because I don't read. I know I should, but I don't read before I speak, as it were. I just go in blind because I love the excitement, the joy of the unexpected, etc., etc., which sometimes trips me up, my own fault. But this, as I say, was just so this dark priest. I just loved the fact that it wasn't the end. It wasn't even the middle. It felt like the beginning of something, which is lovely when you think that we always consider death to be that final step into the abyss, which I hope it is, for me anyway. But I liked it. And that last stanza, it was perfect. The rose began to open dark and red. Well, I was glad it was dark red. While slender arms drew closer overhead, she gave the queen the light she could not save, and wondered why she'd ever feared the grave. Ah, perfect. So, thank you very much for sharing that with us. It was a delight.
It truly was. It truly was. Absolutely. Great comment, Weaver. Yeah, this was so beautiful and captivating. It had this great rhyme and flow, wonderful imagery and metaphors. Part of what it spoke to me on is on one who becomes a bride to that which lurks between life and death, and the embracing of the grave. It also, this time it had me thinking about how I've been watching, um, listening to videos lately on YouTube about the Fae folks, and a couple of them I watched was there's this one that did a episode on fairy brides, and then another one on fairy grooms, and how, like, when there's a marriage that happens between a mortal and one of the Fae folks, it is almost always doomed. And in part, there was, like, I can't pinpoint exactly, but it did feel kind of like that. Um, and but the part where the dark priest called her bride, offered her his hand, then let her wear the wedding vows were planned. That stanza actually made me think of the song Black Wedding. um and I'm horrible at names, but it's a duet between the lead singer of Judas Priest and the lead singer of In This Moment. It is just a fabulous video. And yes, it is a take on Billy Idol's White Wedding, but it's like the lyrics are changed to fit with Black Wedding. And then there's more of a, because they're both heavy metal performers, there's more heavy metal to it, but absolutely fabulous song. And great video. Like, you just don't get videos anymore that have the kind of drama that they used to. But I know that's a side note there, but that's what that stanza there made me think of. But I just absolutely adore this storytelling. I felt like it grabbed and kept my attention all the way through. And I like how it has that strong fantasy element. And yet there is also the idea that death isn't something that we need to fear. It offers like this sense of comfort within the darkness. So beautifully written and very well done by Macris. And up next, we have The Moon's Promise by Hall of Poetry. And she was nice enough to supply us with a sound cloud. So here we go.
The Moon's Promise. Parliamentary rooks settle. Deafening clamour of calls and beating wings silenced by order of the day. Pregnant stillness fills the air, heavy with impatient anticipation, as creatures of the night stir, coming alive to the moon's promise. Thick snow settles, spreading its white blanket across a leaf-littered forest floor. A hug of frost tucks it in place, a welcome to those who have no fear to tread, inviting Prince to shine beneath the moon's promise. Her excitement settles, shrugging her soft black robe around her shoulders. The door creaks its farewell in her wake. Joy dances at her lips as cold slaps against warm flesh. Gliding into the night, she awaits the moon's promise. Howling wind settles, allowing each and every sound to echo and sing, guiding her to the place of no return. Here she waits for darkness to quicken, revealing its hidden, hungry life, to feed on the moon's promise. Morphing shadows settle, diving, swimming in her once white hair. Sharp-twinned creatures create a garland of roses in a sea of red, framing her face as moonlit snow blooms with blood-red poppies, and her eyes mirror the moon's promise. Full moon settles, hiding behind the dawn of a new day. It is the moon's turn to smile. Below, she stirs, caressing the smooth skin her age belies. Flesh hers to give, youth hers to keep. As somewhere beyond the trees, the hungry creatures savour the taste of the moon's promise. End poem. Sam Hall, Hall of Poetry.
Wonderful, wonderful read and write there, Hall of Poetry. Thank you for the sound cloud. It is greatly appreciated. And just a reminder, everyone, if you're unable to call in, the next best thing is to make a recording of your poem, because then we get to hear your poetry in your voice or how you would like it to be heard. And Weaver, your thoughts on this poem?
Oh, Samantha, that was beautifully read. I really enjoyed the tone of your voice and the cadence of the words, just beautiful. And it does, it really, you're right, Pam, it really adds to poetry, I think, if you hear it the way the writer would want it to be heard. And I think this proves it beautifully done. And the poem itself was, I do like a repeat. You know, sometimes, you know, it works mostly, but sometimes maybe not, but this time beautifully, because we waited for that repeat to come and see how it changed in each stanza, which I thought was added to the enjoyment of the whole poem, and captured the picture beautifully, because that is a beautiful picture, but it really captured all of it. So I enjoyed it very much. Thank you for sharing.
Oh, absolutely. Great comment. And Robbie, your thoughts?
This really spoke to me because I've been thinking about the moon a lot, for both as like a personal resonance and just in poetry and literature and that. And I thought it was apt because as well because of the fact of the lunar eclipse that we recently had, and it was making me think about the mystery of the moon. I've been negligent on practical astronomy, observational astronomy, even though I love astronomy. And I was out there watching the moon, going through pretty much the whole phase of it, and it really is a very mysterious sort of a thing. And this poem reminded me of how I have a bit of a more of appreciation for, like, I don't like winter by any stretch of the imagination still, but if it's like a warmer winter night and I see the the snow, and then the moon is out and it's not too cold, you know, I'm not freezing my bones. I've started to see the beauty of, like someone had said, she likes to see the bones of things, you know, referring to like the trees and that in winter. And this poem kind of reminded me of that, of the of what things are like when there's that unique beauty that comes out when things are kind of like in their very stripped down elements, the, you know, like the snow, the quiet, because it tends to be quiet, you know, when you have snowy nights like those, you know. I think of that stereotypical, you know, quiet snowy night with light snow coming down. And this poem very much reminded me of that sort of a thing where it's it's dark and there's mystery in that, but it's not a menacing dark. It's just like the darkness of like kind of like purity through absence, if that makes sense. Just the, or you know, like I said before, like the beauty of like sort of things down to their bareness. So yeah, I very much appreciated the poem for having that sort of a tone.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Great comment. Yeah, first of all, I thought her read with her use of pause, pitch, and punch, really, I mean, she just knew how to pause in just the right way as to build up the atmosphere was fabulous. Um, I think this is a great take on the chosen prompt. Uh, Really captivating lines, wonderful imagery and metaphors. I really like how this speaks on a quiet creature that to me hunts within the night. Um, she is a creature of mystery. She is a creature of another realm to me. You know, flesh is hers to give, youth hers to keep. This is definitely someone who is not within the natural order. Um, and, you know, that's part of what really brings the darkness in. I like that there's nothing specific mentioned. You know, like it doesn't say she's a werewolf or she's a vampire. But yet there's these word choices that you look at them, you know, and you say, okay, this is someone who is not human. This is someone who has existed, someone or something who has existed um, within this forest long before humanity was a sparkle in the God's eyes. Um, Wonderful lines throughout. But I especially like howling wind settles, allowing each and every sound to echo and sing, guiding her to the place of no return. Here she waits for darkness to quicken, revealing its hidden hungry life to feed on the moon's promise. Wonderful lines, beautifully written and very well done by Hall of Poetry. All right. And gonna get the next one up. And it is Anatomy of a Haunted House by Alexander Poe. They call this, okay, starting over again. They call this place abandoned, strange. I have never left. The roof still rises with every breath I take. My ribs are rafters, old timber bent beneath weather, holding up a darkness no carpenter remembers building. My lungs are parlors with the furniture covered. No one sits there anymore. Still, something exhales behind the sheets. At night, the floorboards inside my chest complain beneath invisible feet, slow, measured, always approaching. The doctors pressed cold instruments to the walls and called the noises harmless. The priest brought oil, muttered scripture, and commanded every spirit to leave. Nothing moved. Of course not. Ghosts know when they are home. There's a staircase behind my sternum. It descends further than anatomy permits. At the bottom is a hallway papered with photographs. I have turned toward the wall. I do not need their faces. I know them by the weight of the frames. And at the end stands one locked door. I have carried the key beneath my tongue for years. Some nights I almost use it. Some nights I hear her moving inside, not scratching, not screaming, humming the same small melody she used to fill the silence when silence was still harmless. They tell me the dead cannot remain, but they have misunderstood death. The dead leave bodies. They do not always leave rooms. So I keep the door locked, not because I am frightened of what waits behind it, but because I know if I open it, she will not come out. I will go in, and somewhere above us, my heart will keep beating. An empty house, mistaking noise for life. One day they will bury me and call it demolition. They will lower this ruin into the earth and congratulate themselves on finally making it quiet. But houses like mine do not collapse. They sink and wait for the next poor soul to hear footsteps beneath the floor. End poem. And let's see who commented first. Oh, yes. So it's Robbie's turn to comment. Robbie,
Oh,
your
this was
thoughts.
I love this poem. Oh, it reminded me a
Oh,
bit
yeah,
of
this one
a
was awesome.
yes, it reminded me a bit of A Quiet Place, the second one. Even though the house wasn't alive, because the scene where I can't remember the characters' names anymore. There's so many movies that come out, you can't remember the names after a while. but the female main character, when she's going up the stairs because she's about to give birth, and she has to get up there, and she's like struggling to be quiet too, and there's a prelude. You see them focus on a nail in the floorboard, and that she's going to step on it later, and of course she does, and she like stymies an absolute primal scream, which would just be awful. And in that scene, it did feel like the house was alive almost. Like, it's because I remember it was from a comedian's point of view, but like when he was talking about when you come into a house late and you feel like the floorboards are saying things like liar, cheater, and yeah, but that's what a house feels like when you're trying to, like, in the quiet place. That's what it felt like too. It's like everything in the house is working against you. You're trying to be quiet in this case because the monster will get you, and that. So it reminded me of that. But also, I've loved the idea of when things are animated like that. And for some reason, a house lends itself well to the menace of being animated. Which in it, I like that as almost like a poem or a title for a poem in and of itself, the menace of animation. But I think it's because houses carry memories, and they have different people that go through them in that, and especially like previous tenants. I think of the idea of like previous tenants that never truly left, quote unquote, the house, and how menacing that can be. And there's just so many personal ways a house could manifest to haunt you if it wanted to, like the toilet flushing by itself or the faucets turning on and that. And this kind of reminds me of like the exorcism of a house. They had the Exorcist 3, was it, where they exorcised the house after at the end? I never watched the movie, but I saw the clip where the house is going crazy after they like do whatever they did with it. I don't know if it was like sprinkling holy water in that. And I like the defiance at the end. Houses like mine do not collapse; they sink and wait. And it's like this idea of, you can try to get rid of me, but I may just like lay dormant for a while, but then I'll come back. And there's a real menace in that, and just the animism of this, the animation of something really, really spoke to me. And it's funny because I've been thinking again to read Clark Ashton Smith again and stick to it. And after tonight's dark writings, it's inspiring me to do that. He's just hard to keep track on to read because his stuff was published in a kind of a scattershot sort of way, not through any fault of his own, but at least there's the website, the Dark Eidolon or whatever that you can go to for his writings. So, but yeah, it's inspiring me to get to that.
Oh, awesome. I have to admit, I haven't ever listened to or read any Clark Ashton Smith, so I'll have to check him out. Mm-hmm. But great comment there. And Weaver, your thoughts?
Well, firstly, very well read. Thank you. I enjoyed that. Wow. Clever. So clever. So many. I mean, there's just so many stanzas in this that are astounding. I love the fact that, well, the title, The Anatomy of a Haunted House, and takes you through every aspect of that. And it was scary. It really scared the bejesus out of me. I'm an insomniac, so I'm wandering through a 4-bedroomed house trying to be quiet and being betrayed at every step by knocking into things I didn't remember were there and knocking over things that shouldn't have been there. So this really spoke to me as well. I just enjoyed it so much. And again, as has been mentioned, those last few lines, houses like mine do not collapse, they sink and wait. Oh, wow. I'll never move into anything that's not a new build from now on, ever. Brilliant. So good. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great comment, Weaver. Yeah, I have to agree. Like, for me, it's not so bad because I now live in an apartment. But back when I did live in a house and I'd have to go downstairs to the basement, there's just something so creepy about basements, or attics. It's like that's where all the ghosts hang out. And but I first of all, I love the spacing this because it made it for a wonderful read. Like you knew where the pauses were supposed to be. And I like that there were certain places where like slow, measured, always approaching, where you knew that that pause was supposed to be there to build up that tension. Um, you know and so I really appreciate that. I thought, the first time I read this, I thought, oh, this has some wonderful use of personification, and I realized that it's not just personification. Like, it's not personifying a house. It's using a haunted house for the emotion, as a metaphor for the physical and emotional state that someone is in. The idea of all the ghosts of the past, the grief that they carry with them, the things that they let go of, and yet you know, still haunts them. I thought this had amazing imagery and metaphors, a really great consistency in tone. Um, and I thought there were wonderful lines throughout, but I especially like, I have carried the key beneath my tongue for years. Some nights I almost use it. Some nights I hear her moving inside, not scratching, not screaming, humming. The same small melody she used to fill the silence was when silence was still harmless. What a beautiful, dark, and atmospheric piece, and very well done. I do see that on August 13th, it got a front page pick. So, congratulations on that. Very well deserved.
My grandpa's
All
place had
right.
a pitch dark room in the basement, and it as a kid it scared the bejesus out of me. And the thing is, sometimes even as an adult it would be the same. Like, I know that if I went back there now and that room was still there and it was the same, you couldn't pay me to go to that room. I'd still feel the same. And I just remember looking, and I think it's because it was pitch black. It didn't feel like there was any dimension. It was just like, it didn't feel like there's any walls or anything. It's just like when you looked into it, you were looking into void. It just creeped me out. And I think it's partly it was like that because it was such an old house. Like the laundry machine downstairs had the levers that went from side to side, and it had rollers. That's how old it was. So
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is an
yeah,
old house.
yeah.
Um,
They had to upgrade the electricity, and they had to consult old manuals when they were stripping the wires and converting things because they never come across wiring like that before.
oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, the last house I lived in, the laundry was downstairs in the basement, and I sometimes I had to do like laundry at 2 in the morning because I had little kids and that's when they were asleep. And oh my gosh, there is something so creepy about that, going down there and just, you know, or putting your hand. The other thing is putting your hands around the corner to turn
Hmm.
on a light switch. Um, you can tell that I write a lot of dark stories and dark poetry because I have a very overactive imagination, about like what's under the bed or what's in the closet or what's going to happen if you put your arm around the corner.
Fold
And
into another
but it
dimension. My arm's in another dimension now. Well, how did that happen?
yes.
Half of my arm's gone.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly. All right, so now we do have one last poem for this contest, and then we're going to go into the new contest. And this is The Bell of a Crow's Death by Eliza Coated. And Robbie, would you give that a read for us, please?
Okay, I should dedicate this to the crows that flew onto my roof today. That was weird. That was out of random. That was completely random. They were in the back of a truck, of all places, and then they saw me, and then they flew to the roof of my apartment. So here we
Hmm.
go. Bell of a crow's death. I wish I had a bell. Perhaps your screams are the things keeping you company. Contrast your fate of heated survival. Dear heaven, I'm not keeping you up here with the deranged manifestation of your death sentence. The only thing to invite your invested sorrow is the raven himself, not the wise kind, the empty frontiers of which no one returns kind. I don't think of you surviving your fall to gloom, only that once the crows chimed, would I would I be captivated by your death. I wish you forbidden hunts in your committed frost of mind. Go get flounder, the meat of your soul. Only then do you have costly permission to see my face. Send us your fate. People keep the fallen company. End poem. It was such big font there. I didn't know how to say it, but I wanted to say it in some sort of melodramatic fashion.
Well, I felt like the bigger font to me anyways, and if somebody who writes in big font doesn't feel this way, but it's usually, common knowledge that bigger font means yelling. And I'm not
Yes.
saying you should have yelled at the top of your voice. Like,
No,
definitely
I wouldn't do that to
considering
you.
how well your mic works,
Yeah.
I think we would have all jumped out of our pajamas if you
Well, I
had
scared
shouted.
Athasiana one time like that. There was a poem where I didn't yell, but it said the part of the poem was "Oh God," and I read it and I read it so well that she thought something happened in my house. I was like, I thought I was freaked out, Rob. I thought that something actually happened in your house. I was like, I don't know, it's just part of the poem. The lines were "Oh God," and I just said them very, very, very realistically.
Oh, that's funny. That's
Yeah.
funny. But yeah, great read there. And Weaver, your thoughts.
Oh, I'm muted. Oh, good. Fascinating. Definitely. I loved the title, "The Bell of a Crow's Death," and I really enjoyed Robbie's invasion. What did you do? You should have set out breadcrumbs or something. Fabulous. But this, this is deep. I didn't think of you surviving your fall to gloom, only that once the crows chimed, would I be captivated of your death. That threw me a little because I didn't quite expect it of your death, but it does give it such an interesting slant. Yes, and as you say, anybody who writes in large capitals, you're being yelled at. And I love that aspect of the typed word, as it were, in the cyberverse. We're used to that now. Oh, somebody's shouting at me. What have I done? So yeah, I enjoyed it. And I also enjoyed very much the AN. Hello, late night poets. Sadly, I cannot do a video of me reading the poem, but I do hope you guys like it. I think I use most of mental creativity for this poem. Anyways, please enjoy. And if it's still able to be chosen, I give full permission for it to be on the show. Lovely. That is really nice. So thank you for sharing.
That is just beautiful honesty. I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I have a great appreciation for mental creativity. And great comment, Weaver. And Robbie, your thoughts.
Sorry about that. I was tabbed over in the wrong area or whatever. Uh, let me just get to yeah. It's had a kind of unusual pattern to it, but so I think I would have to read it once again to get the fully absorb it. But it's like it's almost like it acknowledged that a crow can have a positive side, or that crows have a like a positive aspect, but it's choosing to focus on the negative one. I'm trying to remember the part itself. Oh yes, is the raven himself, not the wise kind, the empty frontiers of which no one returns kind. I thought that was interesting because someone will, if a totem, an animal, a shaman, whatever you want to call it, or whatever, like a shaman figure, um, has both a positive and a negative aspect, they'll usually focus on one or the other. And so I thought that was unique and unusual that they said, okay, well, there is a positive aspect, but I'm going to focus on the negative one. It's, yeah, I haven't come across something that's outside of the one or other sort of approach. Um, I thought of a native tale where they're talking about how again, it's like a form of protection, a unique form of protection where it's cawing, rasping voice, and black feathers meant that no humans would be going after it to predate it, so it was like a form of protection that way. So it kind of made me think of that. And it sounds like there's a wish of something here. I don't know if it's an active wish of harm, or it's almost like they know what the person's fate is going to be, or what their karma or whatever is going to be. I don't think of you surviving your fall to gloom, only that once the crows chimed, would I be captivated of your death. Again, yeah, it's unusual wording here. It kind of feels like they're saying, I regard that your because of the sort of harbinger aspect of the crow, because I see that, I see what is going to happen to you. That's not the best way that I can phrase that right now, but that's the best way I can phrase it or explain myself on the fly. It's this is an interesting poem because it's written a little differently, and it it's yeah, it's just unique in its cadence and its language structure, and it's but it's in a way that draws you in more, and so I'm interested to read this again. And it seems like they
Yeah,
like to use
absolutely.
those captions, because I see one that says "Return a poem," and the poem title itself is in captions. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, Eliza Coded is a new name to me. So, I'm glad they were inspired to share something. Um, she does have a unique style, which I find actually quite intriguing. Um, the title and the poem itself made me think of the idea that crows and ravens in many cultures are considered harbingers of death. And then you think of the tolling of the bell, for whom the bell tolls. And so, the idea of the communication of death. I also thought of the Morrigan in Irish folklore with this poem. It definitely speaks to me not only on death, but one who must face their fate and the consequences of their actions. And I thought there were great lines throughout. I do like how that one part starts out, dear heaven, the idea that there's this communication between the earth, someone who is of the earthly realm, and heaven itself. And then I really like the lines, I wish you forbidden hunts in your committed frost of mine. Go get flounder, the meat of your soul. only then do you have costly permission to see my face. Like the idea that there must be certain actions taken before one can find these rewards. It has, there's almost a sense of ancient, like when the hero gets sent on a, not a mission, but like when the hero or the protagonist gets sent out, and it's like, okay, these are the things you need to accomplish before you will have the rewards, before you are worthy of standing in front of the gods. This is what you must do. So excellent, excellent right, and very well done. And up next we have, and now we are going to go into poems inspired by the painting The Silence by Henry Fuseli. And I have put up The Absence of Noise by Oak Blue 34. And Weaver, would you give that a read for us, please?
Happy to. Thank you. Let me just get to it. Oh, I thought I had it.
I couldn't get
Okay,
to
one
it.
moment.
It said page 404 not found. I'm getting an error message on that one.
Oh, okay.
Yes, me
that one
too.
must have been. No problem. No problem. That
deleted.
just means that
Yeah.
that it was deleted. So no problem. That happens. I should have checked ahead of time. Well, then I will bring us to the next poem and get that put up. Sometimes that just happens. All right.
Welcome to my
the next
world.
Poem, the next poem is A Silken Repose by Weaver of Dreams. And she was nice enough to supply us with a sound cloud. So here we go.
A cloud of grey mist nullifies sound, muffles and distorts any interaction. Thoughts wrought in silence profound, soften to a sigh of singular satisfaction. A corporeal entity needs a way to vacate a plateau inhabited by those who vitiate. Be passive, peaceful, placid, quiescent. Remain reserved, restrained, and reticent.
Great read and write there, Weaver. I'm glad you were inspired. Thank you for the SoundCloud. It is greatly appreciated. And Robbie, your thoughts?
It's interesting how this poem goes in several directions in my mind. Like, it could be this or it could be that. Thoughts wrought in silence profound, softened to a sigh of singular satisfaction. Like a sigh of singular satisfaction, that could be like a physical thing. That could be a mental thing, like just, like when your thoughts finally settle and or you've come to a conclusion that's satisfying in your mind. But then it says a corporeal entity needs a way to vacate a plateau inhabited by those who vitiate. It sounds like not quite like possession, but like an entity passing through. And yeah, it doesn't sound like so possessive because it says be passive, peaceful, placid, quiescent, reserved. It sounds like it's saying, just stay in repose, and things will pass through. It kind of reminds me of a dream I had with a snowy owl where it kept whooshing by me and it felt like it was going to like smack into me or like, put its talons into me or something. But I was just like, okay, Rob, if you just stay still and be chill, you'll be fine. And then it landed on my shoulder. And I just remember, it's like, oh, I was so happy. It's like, oh, it landed on my shoulder. And it's like it was supposed to. It felt like it was supposed to be there all the time, and it landed because it wanted to, like because it was accepting me, right? So it's neat that it reminded me of that. Um, yeah, it's interesting that that it's not. It sounds like, if it went another direction, it would be more like a possessive or a possession. But with this, it sounds like more like something passing through. I don't know if I'm completely off, but
Well, that's a great comment, and I can definitely see that. I was thinking I definitely see the idea of possession, but I was leaning more like, especially with reading it this time around, of the idea who someone who is very placated in the very placid in the way they're living life, like someone who's basically given up on life emotionally, and so they're just kind of bent their will to the idea that while they're not going to necessarily take their own life, they're not, they wouldn't be sad if it came, they wouldn't, they're waiting passively for death to happen because it feels as if life is no longer worth living. I thought this was beautifully written couplets, with a great flow. I love the use of the word vitiate. I thought, you just don't see that enough. I mean, there was some really great word choices, one line leading beautifully into the next. Um, but I especially like those last two couplets. Beautifully written and very well done. And Weaver, would you like to say anything about your poem?
Thank you for your very kind comments. Pam, you were spot on. Wow, you scare me sometimes. But yes,
I'm
that
lucky.
was basic.
Even a broken clock is twice right twice a day.
Yeah, yeah. That was basically it. The silence part of it drew me so much, and I was playing with words as well, which you obviously noticed, which is always fun to do. When you want to pick out something that you know exactly uh, means what you want it to mean. It's very helpful. So yeah, I enjoyed this. This was a when I say I enjoyed it, I got a bit of my thoughts out, and that's always a good thing. So thank you very much for your comments. Most appreciated.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad I went back and read it, because I know the first time I read it, you had accidentally put a central right in, and it looks like you went back and did a little editing, and so that was awesome. I'm glad you were inspired. I like running when I run small contests and only put up one prompt, because it can be fun to see the different ways that people take the same prompt. And with that being said, all right, so here we go. We are actually going to hear Weaver's voice twice. One because we were at her poem and it was her SoundCloud, and now because I'm going to put up a poem and it's her time to read. And I have put up Where Evil Dwells by Daniel Duhame. And go ahead, please, Weaver.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to find it. You know how they jump around. I got it. Such a feeling of triumph. I feel like a hunter. Okay. Where evil dwells. Serious voice. Okay, here we go. From a heart blackened by being dipped in an evil while violence reigns as naturally as breathing air, beware of silent tones of dark shadows that roam, they will swallow you whole. Consumed by a raging fire that caused harm, the night brings many more dangers than you can see. Upon the sea of black ways that you can't interpret, fingers of darkness come to caress your skin and turn it black from mortal sin. Only the sticky red drink can appease the demon of murder. While your breath is done and eyes close into mortal sleep, innocence has gone by a fatal blow that crushes your skull, then nothing but darkness will be your fate. Lock your door and arm yourself well, because there are creatures who live in the night, ready to pounce upon you without mercy. The most dangerous of all is called human. End poem.
Great read, Weaver, and what an amazing dark rite by Daniel Duhame. And your thoughts, Robbie?
Well, I think there's a sentiment that perhaps, well, yeah, sadly, people have more these days that humanity is the greatest, you know, wickedness. I think that it's something that we've always thought about to some degree or another, but with the way the world is now, I think we're feeling it more than ever. And I've come across that sentiment a couple of times in some horror and some other genres, and that's what makes the end of the poem scarier, is that I feel like a lot of us human beings are feeling that in reality now. I thought at first of like a bit perhaps of like the night, and like when the zombies come out kind of a thing in that, but with the lock your doors, arm yourselves well, the creatures that live in the night and that. But then yeah, there's that twist that it's like human beings, and that's the thing, human beings, this poem kind of reminds me of how human beings have the greatest capacity for either good or evil, because we have the intellect, but also we have the ability to choose. And to me, the greatest evil is when you choose evil knowing that it's evil, to choose to do bad things knowing they're bad things. That's something that only humans can do, and that's what can make us so wicked. And they I've heard like in like more religious circles how that's the thing, is like humans are between like the angels and God, because we can either go heavenward or hellward, right? Where we're in between that way. The angels are already up there, and the demons are already down there. So we have this unique position that we occupy in the cosmos. And funnily enough, in real life, like in physical reality, when you look at the scale of human beings, like when you take the subatomic scale, I'm getting kind of physical here, metaphysical, but when you take the subatomic scale and go right to the scale of the vastness of the universe, and like how vast things can get, humans actually are in the middle in terms of size, which fascinates me to no end. So yeah, I went on a tangent there, but yeah, that reminded me of that. And yeah, it kind of shows like the very end, saying that it's human. Then you think to yourself, oh, the sticky red drink can appease the demon of murder. Oh, well, that demon of murder is the human. It's not an abstract thing. It's not a literal demon. It's a human. So that really brings the point of horror home.
Oh, absolutely. And great observations, and so true. I mean, humanity is sadly capable of great evil, but thankfully, we are also capable of doing so much good. Um, and Weaver, your thoughts?
Oh, this was fascinating. Fascinating. Yes, I agree with everything you've said. I, unfortunately, because I have like 22-hour days, I tend to while away the hours watching stupidity on YouTube. I love it. I've not that long come to watch YouTube, and I also have found those ring cameras, ring bell camera things that are fascinating, man. I am amazed at what goes on in the wee small hours, and also camping on your own in haunted woods. Oh my God, it's a plethora of fun for me. I enjoy every minute of that. Just makes the hours go past so easily. So this I enjoyed because, as Robbie said, you get to that only the sticky red drink can appease the demon of murder. Oh, I mean, yeah, I'm amazed.
Oh, I
I,
know.
it just astounds me. I can't do wrong because in my head I have a voice. Unfortunately, that voice sounds like my mother. But you know, Catherine, you cannot do that. Oh, bugger. So I've got to be a good girl, otherwise I'm haunted. But yeah, so but I don't understand. I don't understand the nastiness, the horror, the vileness that humans are capable of. You know, that is just it's so sad. Unfortunately, as I say, it does give me some interesting little glimpses into what goes on. But yeah, fabulous piece of poetry. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very cleverly written and took you down that road to that last stanza, which, as we've all agreed, was beautifully written to give you a shiver down your spine. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, absolutely. Great comment, Weaver. Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, the imagery in this is just so haunting and visceral and horrifying. And he really builds up the intensity and then brings that twist at the end where you realize and you are hit hard with the fact that the most dangerous of all evil out there, the most unmerciful evil out there is called human. And so I really like that line. But I also like the stanza before it. I thought this was just a wonderful dark tale of humanity taken over by the spirit of evil and very well done. All right. And gonna get the next poem up, and it is A Silent Hell by Monty G25. And getting back to where I need to be, it goes like this. Again, I enter a world of silent turmoil. Somebody else has assumed control now. Who are they and where have they come from? Steering my mind to a fruitless path of angst and rage. My thoughts seek to implode in consequential turmoil. Nowhere, nobody, nothing can I turn to for reprieve. My alter ego has become the master of my destiny. Who do I turn to for fear of unintentional harm? Or I reside in my protected intellectual enclave. I beseech Satan to release my itinerant soul from my manic phase of episodal hysteria. He laughs unrepentantly. He always laughs. I scream, I cry for redemption. I always cry. My tears fall on emotionally barren ears. Fear I will replenish my diary of sins and take the life of yet another soul. I cannot, I will not be responsible. That which purports to be me, Beelzebub, I beg you to vacate, else I will take you with me beyond my silent hell. End poem. And Weaver, your thoughts?
Oh, wow. Wonderful. I hope this is total imagination and someone isn't actually having to suffer through this silent hell. My goodness me. It basically just takes you down this, and I love the way, and I don't know whether, I'm sure it was intentional, but I love the way this goes down and down into shorter and shorter lines, with no stanza breaks, just takes you through until it gets to that point where there's nowhere else to go. Else I shall take you with me beyond my silent hell. Oh, wow. I mean, this, I have more understanding of how it must feel to be taken over by what is not actually you, but is an aberration you have to live with. It really touched me. Terrible, terrible, terrible way to have to live. When I talked about that inner voice that I have, I didn't realize how powerful that would be in thinking about this poetry. Beautiful and terrifying.
Oh, absolutely. It really is a powerful and gripping write on the mental struggle, the mental, spiritual, and emotional struggle that somebody is going through. So, great comment there, Weaver. And oh, looks like we temporarily lost Robbie. I was gonna say we temporarily lost Weaver, thinking she had jumped off and with her emotional stress. But nope, you're still here, Weaver, and we'll just wait to see if Robbie's gonna come back, or if he's gonna message me somewhere else. But yeah, I thought this was an amazing write, and the unfortunately, we can't use those recordings that you attach through, now that there's the new All Poetry site and they have an option for you to attach a recording. We are not able to download those. And, we are not able to download those and, in order to put them in our studio. So, if you don't want to attach a SoundCloud link or, any kind of recording link, that is fine. But then what you have to do is email or message the host or hostess of the contest, like an MP3 or something like, you know what I mean? Like an MP3, a recording of some kind, because as of right now, those recordings attached through All Poetry, we cannot use on our shows. All right, I see messaging happening. Let's see what's happening here. The mic unplugged and Robbie is back, so I will go grab him. All right, here we go.
There we go. Yeah, sorry about that. The cord's long enough, but this time I didn't push the thing into the back firmly enough. So yeah. Anyways.
Oh, it's so weird that you completely dropped off. But welcome back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll go ahead and comment on this and then that'll give you some time. But I thought this was just an amazing dark write. It's very tense. It does have this emotional impact. And he does remind us that there are those who suffer. They suffer from severe depression. They suffer from schizophrenia. Like this really makes me think of schizophrenia, and what it's like to deal not only with all these horrifying symptoms, but to deal with the fact that so many people don't understand the hell that you are going through. I thought there were great lines throughout, but I especially I scream, I cry for redemption, I always cry. My tears fall on emotionally barren ears. I fear I will replenish my diary of sins and take the life of yet another soul. fear yourself, to see yourself as the greatest monster in your life is must be a truly horrifying experience. Excellent dark right by Monty G, and very well done. And Robbie, your thoughts?
Well, one of the things this made me think about was there's a couple of characters I've come across that their life has gotten so messed up that they've, well, especially one of them, that they developed dissociative identity disorder, where they have to develop another personality just to cope. I was thinking there's the two characters were like Moon Knight in the comics, both comic book characters, Moon Knight and Harvey Dent, the Two-Face there in the the Batman universe, and especially with Two-Face, like he has his own inner self, like his good side, the original Harvey Dent trying to short circuit his evil side, which I thought was a fascinating way to write it. But the thing is I remember someone saying, and I totally agree, that when I think maybe you touched on it too, where yeah, I think that you did too, where people say the ridiculous thing of, well, it's just all in your head. And well, yeah, it is in my head, and that's what makes it insidious. That's what makes it terrible. Because when something is external to you, or when it's another part of your body, like say something wrong with your arms or whatever, you can try to find something for it more easily, I think. And it's not so much like it's unpleasant in that, but it's not part of your very identity, right? So when they say it's just in your head, well, so that's not so bad. That's the most asinine thing to say, because that actually makes it, to me, more terrible, because it affects you in your everyday life. It affects the way you think, it affects the way you feel. And I thought a little bit about alcohol and alcoholism too, because there's just something about alcoholism to me that turns people into demons. Like when somebody gets angry because of alcohol, or abusive because of alcohol, it's like they're possessed by a demon or a devil. They just become so mean. And I think of like all the people that get drunk and like beat their spouse or something like that. And it made me think of that too, because of it's such an altered state of mind. That for some reason, this poem made me think of like when the things happen in a way where the mind almost gets split in two in some form or another, like you're under the influence of something, or extreme stress divides you into two different things. So it reminded me of that, and yeah, overall reminded me of the idea that the mental things that we have to endure sometimes, and that can come upon us, are actually like the worst things. Oh, and actually, that was the one other thing. I know someone myself who, and there's probably, I may have known someone else may have been like this too, but he would talk about how his medicine, like he was on the medicine and technically it made him better, but it made him feel worse in so many other ways, right? Like he just didn't feel like himself, and he's like, I think it was like a struggle for him to communicate in that. So it's like technically the medicine works, but it takes them so much out of it takes so much out of them just to be functioning as they should be day to day. And that seems to be a pretty common thing. I've heard that a couple of times, just in general, how like the medicines help you, but you feel like a zombie. You just don't feel like yourself. You feel like I think you're zombied on the medicine, which is awful, because either you can not take the medicine and suffer the effects of like schizophrenia or whatever, or you take the medicine and you feel like a zombie, with not much of a choice.
Well, with something as serious as schizophrenia, I would say definitely take the medicine.
Oh yeah, that's what
Um,
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying
well,
too.
the
But
thing is here's the thing with any mental health disorder. you have to communicate with your doctor, and you have to find what works for you, because yes, any medicine for anything, you have to weigh the pros and the cons. So, which can be very difficult to do.
I am saying, like, yeah, it's just either state. When it gets to a point where the medicine impacts you that heavily, it just feels like no matter what, you can't, you're being impacted in some way that you would not want to be impacted, which is a sad thing
Yeah,
to me. Yeah, that's basically
it
what I'm
can
saying.
be. It can be. Absolutely. Absolutely. Great comment, Robbie. Um, all right. So I'm going to put up our last poem for the night, and then we will have 8 carryovers. So that's half a show right there, especially if Robbie and Weaver join me. um, but up next is Shell by Mom of Dragons. And Robbie, would you give that a read for us, please?
All right. I just gotta. Do I have to? Okay. I thought I had to refresh it first. Oh, was it? There we go. It was being tricksy on me. The irid shell, empty inside like a seashell, the iridescent pearl has disappeared. Light that once created happiness has darkened to an onyx shade of night. Responsibilities demand blood in price. Freedom begins to falter. The sound of a wise and bright woman dies. Is there anything left to salvage? Changes are uncomfortable in life. Pain tends to linger when self-care is lacking. Inner peace exists as a fragile string. Mom, friend, and wife seem to only exist. Where is the independent woman who strived? A smile on the outside to mask the void created through the latest trials of life endured with continuous questions and no answers. I'm just a hard shell protecting others as I drown. Support exists yet seems beyond the horizon. Only a fellow struggling woman would understand. Who's endured their life flipped upside down. End poem.
Great read there, Robbie. And Weaver, your thoughts?
Unfortunately, I managed to drop halfway through, so I do apologize for that. But yes, I thought this was fascinating. Mom of Dragons. Yeah, changes are difficult to deal with. Definitely. And as I don't know, as a woman, you tend to be so many different things to so many different people, and that can be a difficult thing. Yes, so I thought this was so well written, and it expressed the struggle. So thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great comment, Weaver. And Robbie, you did a great read of that. Your thoughts?
Oh, this one tugged at my heartstrings. This one made me think of something that I feel like I've fallen into out of no choice, and it's called hyper independence, where you're the only one that you rely on, and it's not necessarily it's good to be self-reliant, but when you don't have you're doing that because you don't have a support system, or you feel like you can't trust other people to help you. That's not a good thing, right? But it sucks when, like, I just really related to this poem's feeling, because I feel like I've become hyper independent, and even though I know it's a very taxing thing and you should get a support network, sometimes you're just in a situation where you honestly don't have a support network and you feel like you do have to be hyper independent. And just with that idea, like, this poem really, I could feel my voice choking at a couple of times. at it, and like the smile on the outside to match the void created. It just made me think of all the times where I just been like grinning and bearing it when especially with the support that I've given a lot of people. I've for some reason fallen into the role of supporter for a lot of people, and you do develop a hard shell after a while because it takes so much out of you, and you kind of become protective. So yeah, this poem really hit me hard.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Me too. Me too. Um, great, great comment there, Robbie. Yeah, this one hit me hard too because it is a poem I can very much relate to. To me, it did speak on how, like, well, first of all, like Weaver said, how a woman is expected to be so many different things to so many different people, and that kind of makes you feel like you're torn in different directions. But even before I'd seen the AN, it made me think of the postpartum depression that I went through. I actually, like, I'm on medication for my depression, which was why I try very hard when I talk about mental health to tell people that, if they're struggling with anything to do with their mental health, yes, there are people who can take care of their depression without medication. And if that works for you, that's great. But if it doesn't work for you, just remember that depression is it's a sickness, and sometimes you need that medication. And for me, it took like, I had always struggled with depression, but it took the downfall I went through and after I had my second kid, because I had my first two kids 10 months apart. So I had a newborn and a 10-month-old. And I had always, like, my stepsister would talk about her depression, how the only thing that kept her from killing herself or attempting to kill herself was her children. And I had two young children, and I still overdosed on pills. I was that depressed. And it was at that point, after I ended up in a mental health ward, that I realized that I had to do something more for myself and for my children. So you really, I mean, and I'm no expert on the subject. I just speak from my experience when it comes to any kind of depression, and especially postpartum depression. Find someone to talk to, even if that someone is either a friend or your doctor, whoever it is. I just thought this had such powerful and emotive lines. She did a wonderful job of writing on postpartum depression and the horrific feeling of losing that sense of self. This was definitely a powerful write, and very well done. And yeah, wow, I tell you, time does fly when you're having fun. Thank you, Robbie, for co-hosting with me. Thank you, Weaver, for calling in and joining us. Thank you, Macris, for hanging on the board. Thank you, Fill My Eyes, for all that you do. Thank you to everyone for sharing your time and rights. To those who are listening now or will be listening later, we truly appreciate you all. Our carryovers for the next show will be Omega AM, Angela Aquino, Dreaming Demon, Olka F, Eric Svensson, Vizago, Time Teller, and Koyazina Winter. Please make sure to keep an eye out on the contests and topic boards put up by our late night poets, hosts and hostesses, because you're sure to find something to inspire. And join us tomorrow night. That's Sunday, 10 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, for Rhythm and Rhyme, where we will be sharing your lyrics and your music. And have a wonderful night, everyone.
Good night, Pam.